I'm safe.
Hmm.
So, how are things? How are you?
Good, good. Just, work's been busy, but
Big thing.
Hmm?
Nowadays, if you're able to say that, it's a big thing.
Yeah, that's true. How are you? So have you you've finally been let out of exile, I heard.
No, just one function, family function. And after that, again, my son has clamped me back. I'm really worried now. Next month, I want to make it a physical meeting and let's see how it goes. They're announcing it. And definitely need to get out before then. Find a way. I'll find a way. I wanted to attend Sundari's meeting. No, my sons are nothing doing. Too many people will be there.
He wasn't wrong. There were a lot
He
of
wasn't
people.
wrong. I know. She was telling me 90 to 100 as she expected.
Yeah. Plus, food now you can't even mask. So yeah.
So okay. So what I want to do is now take it easy. Next time I'm going to ask him. I want to go to just one friend's house and come back. That's all. So that way slowly ramp up.
Yep.
Did you have an awful cough, Suresh?
Yeah, horrible mess. What to do? These things
Really
happen.
bad. Sounds bad.
Only I can't ask my son for permission to get out when I'm coughing.
Correct.
I have to wait a little bit and then ask him.
Yes.
So how are things with you?
I'm okay. Thank you. Just got back from Nepal. I was trekking in the mountains there.
Really fabulous things you have been doing. Photographs. Wow.
My passion is trekking.
Really something. My passion is totally computer mode. I am in your.
And you're doing a great job, Suresh.
Yes.
Slowly getting into the groove. Lot of learning to do.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm having fun anyway.
That's important.
That's important. Yes.
Attendance appears to be low this month.
I haven't read the book, but I said I must listen to all the comments at least.
Let's see.
Well, there's still about 5 minutes left. So
yeah, early.
Hopefully by the time 4 o'clock rolls around, we'll have more people. Oh, there we have Devika.
Are we meeting next month in person? Did we say that? Or
we wanted to, but
okay.
Yeah, it depends on a couple of things, I think. Yeah.
Why we are looking at meeting.
Hello.
Anyways, Suresh will tell us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Okay, so where are we in Austin?
We are there.
we're waiting for you to come and start off.
No, the trouble is my presentation review is going to probably start a lot of fighting. I'm going to be told pieces, I think, today.
So I have the privilege today. I have the privilege today of reading out Prema's views because I happen to be message chatting with her, and she has given me her views. So, and I asked her, can I read it out? And she said, yes, good.
Wonderful.
So I basically don't have views because I have an aunt who loves Jane Austen, who's given me
the whole funny part of it.
four long size sheets of notes. Wow. And I have Prema who said, I love what your aunt has said, and then she's added some points. So we have enough.
Goodness.
All the more I'm scared, I say, about what I'm about to say.
Don't worry, feel free to say what you're going to say. I'm offensive.
I will.
Yeah, the benefits of an online meeting, you're safe.
It's a virtual big max.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Sundari. So, Suresh, you have announcements today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Sundari. Hi, Sundari.
Hey, sorry, let me get my video on.
Next month is going to be very lovely. I've read about a little bit of it and I just loved it.
I'm getting the book today tomorrow.
Is the book available already, Devika?
Yes.
They picked it, yeah.
They actually sold out the book and they are getting fresh stocks tomorrow.
All right, okay, then I'll send my driver tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
Just check before sending because they're expecting.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Suresh.
I'll announce it today also. I will.
Okay.
Hi, Geeta.
Hi. I'm so looking forward to meeting everybody in person, actually.
Well, we'll possibly meet in June.
It should be so.
Yes, we will. We will.
Hi, Chandra.
Hi, hi,
Hello.
hi. Next month.
Hello.
Hey, hi, Chandra.
Hi, hi.
More people log in, I'm getting more scared.
Hi. Come on, Suresh.
You're never
you know,
scared,
girls,
Suresh.
Suresh, I'm just going to remind you of why did persuasion come on this list. It's because somewhere along the way we felt we were doing too many Indian authors, and we said, why don't we do, typical SansSerif?
That's how
Why
it
don't we
happened.
do a classic? Oh, let's do a Jane Austen. Okay, so then it fell on somebody's head to say, well, which Jane Austen? So I asked this aunt of mine who says I'm a devotee of Jane Austen, and she suggested persuasion, and we're doing it. And so we should not be scared. We should be very happy because this is the vote we asked for. Like voting for the DMK. Be happy.
But voting has got a safety factor built in. Nobody can blame anybody.
If you didn't vote, keep quiet. If you voted, keep even more quiet.
Exactly.
I like the book. I think it was
I
good.
like the book. That is a different story.
Okay, are we starting now? Because I would like to
As soon as I finish,
go.
you should go on first.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
yes.
want to
I
leave?
would like
Go
to.
ahead. Go ahead.
You can
See,
go on.
this great plan of doing some walking or swimming or something, I don't know whether I'll be able to do is because Modi ji is here.
So
So we
what?
don't know whether.
He doesn't say you can't swim.
Because on the way.
I think
on
he's worried
the-
about
do you
the
know,
traffic.
In Adayar itself, apparently the traffic will be terrible. That's what we hear.
Yes.
No, I don't know.
He's
So I
not
better
coming
go.
here. He's going to the Paris area. He's not coming to swim in your pool.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure. Imagine Modi being in my pool.
You really
Thank
don't
God.
want him there swimming in your
Yeah,
pool. I'm
yeah,
sure.
let's, yeah.
Exactly. Thank God
Thank
for
you,
small
not at
persons
all,
of
for
my-
that mental image.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's give Chandra the pool advantage.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Miss Resh, if you do your announcements and we can, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah,
take
yeah,
a few
Oh,
minutes?
okay, it's technically still 3:59.
Just
Well,
give
let
it
me
a
start
few
the-
minutes and see if anybody joins.
It's technically, Purva,
Hmm?
4 o'clock.
Yep, it's 4 on the dot.
It's 4
Yeah.
o'clock now.
It's four.
Okay.
Let's start.
Yeah, let's start. People can, and when the
Hey,
recording
hi,
is there.
nice to
So.
have Malvika there. Hi, Malu.
Hello.
Malvika, nice to see you.
Okay, so Chandra, if you want, even before Suresh's announcement, you can go first because we understand about you and Modi and the
No,
pool.
mine won't take much.
Yeah. See, good girl you are. You are a good girl. Now first time I have written down whatever I wanted to say. Then I found that I have not said everything I wanted to say, but anyhow, I will do whatever I can. Okay. Very bad. Now, Persuasion, Jane Austen, very difficult book to review. Difficulties, acclaimed classic, written by a formidable writer, accepted as her best book. Now,
No.
after a lot of deliberation, I have decided that I will say here, maybe not elsewhere, what I felt when I read the book. I will not be influenced. This is the oath, okay? I will not be influenced by what has been said by so many, perhaps all better qualified than me to offer an opinion. I will not be influenced by the much glamorized movie versions of Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, the great, the society, okay? Remember, please note the title shots of the series Pride and Prejudice. If you remember, all beautiful, knitted, cross-knitted, beautiful women, a handsome hero, all that, I'm going to put it aside, okay? Here I go. This novel was published in 1817 and 205 years. The English society has changed. Women and their lives are, I believe, changed for the better. Women are financially and socially much better off. Their lives are not dependent on any wealthy man of good character. So I would prefer to read it as a historical novel depicting a society that has disappeared into the mist of time. That's how I would like to read the novel. But when I started reading the novel, let me put a small caveat, I didn't do like that. I thought, oh, I'm reading a great book. Okay, sorry. Style. the length of sentences. The first few chapters, I had to reread a number of them in order to get what she was trying to say. I had to put everything in place and again go back. Now, I read them again only because she was Jane Austen and we have voted to read it in the book club. I will not pick up a book where I have to reread half the book just to understand what is being written. Now, I could not but notice the freedom with which she could write, the advantages of her time. She did not have to be concerned about the correctness of things. Her impressions were often cruel. She called her characters fools, vain, pompous, greedy, fat, dark, whatever, and lacking in moral rectitude. It was amusing, and I actually enjoyed the often catchy conversations depicted. I really enjoyed it. The plot, typical Jane Austen, depicts the disadvantages of a closed society, inadequate income, and the compulsion to marry to escape the prospects of a dreary life. An irresponsible father. Today, one might have questioned his way of life. At the same time, today, one might excuse the aggressive ambition of the younger Elliot, the heir to Anne's father's property and title. Today, we might sympathize with Mrs. I forget her name. Remember that lady who is a friend of Mrs. Clay. We might sympathize with her. Poor thing, she didn't have anybody except to get a foolish man as a husband. I felt it dragged a little bit. Persuasion did not have that sparkle. That's what everybody calls the sparkle and the universal quality. I found Pride and Prejudice had that universal quality. Persuasion lacked it. It was too Regency, too British. There is nothing wrong with all these things. I would not call it a classic. That's all. Now, of course, I also enjoyed. I'm a great fan of Pride and Prejudice. I enjoyed good English. I enjoyed the words being used. I enjoyed the spot where she gets the letter and they both talk together, they walk, and the last scene, how she ends a novel so beautifully. Not many can end the novel the way Jane Austen can. And the way she described Bath, the way she describes a foolish girl who will jump off somewhere to fall sick. All the time, they are all aware that she might do it. The way she has described everything is beautiful. Still, I would like, even amongst Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. That's it. Thank you all.
Stay for the announcements, Chandra. Very well said. Stay for the announcements.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody told Chandra start. I'm sorry.
No.
I said
We wanted you to start. We wanted you to start. Yeah. But you shouldn't miss the announcements.
Yeah.
Suresh, all yours.
Yeah.
Yep. Floor's yours.
First, we have successfully completed one more cycle of our book collections. So I want to ask you, what are your impressions? Any suggestions for changes?
Suresh,
So
I
far,
have one point, if I can say something. The SansSerif group has a lot of messages with forwards, interesting, also. Sometimes this time I didn't notice that this voting thing was there because frankly, if I'm busy, I am not able to read them. So in the process, I missed the vote, and of course, you were kind enough to offer me a chance to reclaim my vote and my skills at whatever. Okay, so I just was wondering, how do we, can you put some sort of, hey, folks, it's voting, and forget the other forwards? This is just a random question.
There are a couple of ways of doing it. One is simply have what we can call another group, which has nothing but the official announcements. What Sharon says, what we say about the meetings, and the response to that, and about that is what we can call the core of our book club or whatever, which will not have any forwards, which will not have any outside. I am a great fan of the forwards. I am a great fan of our group. I'm not denying it. But what you say is also true. Some of the important messages are getting lost. I have noticed it also.
Let's leave. I get your point. Let's leave the idea with the group, and maybe you can mention it in the WhatsApp circle also. Let's come to a democratic decision.
I don't see any problem in it because people who are not very comfortable are going to look at this group. Not everybody need not look at the core group list.
Yeah, Suresh, Meera is adding something. Let's listen to her.
It's just the sheer number of WhatsApp groups that we all are on. That is the only concern that I have.
Have you any innovative idea, Meera?
But we can try it out and see for sure.
Anybody else with any ideas on this?
Yeah,
Maybe
I have very
posters.
strong views on this. I think we need a separate group because it just gets, I mean, there are too many forwards. So we just have to change. I feel very strongly about this. I have 2 groups for my family where we're very particular, where only so that all these important messages don't get hidden with all the forwards. So I'm very particular about this and I feel very strongly, so I'll keep quiet.
Okay.
If you feel strongly, you should speak, Sundari. That is the whole idea.
Tell me, Meera.
If you feel very
fight in my
strongly,
group.
yeah, no, I said if you feel very strongly about something, you should say it.
I think because we are all part of so many groups, when we get so many forwards. So it would be very nice if we could go back to the original way the group was functioning before the pandemic, where it was only messages pertaining to the books and the meetings and the vote.
Can I say something?
Any others have any other points?
Actually, I want to say something.
Yeah, Mr. Suresh.
It is not a question of going back to what we were. It is a question of duplicating what we are now. One section will be practically going back to what we were. Other section is, I am, for example, for it, the way the present group is functioning, like most other WhatsApp group for that matter, with a lot of forwards, quite a few are interesting. You cannot deny that. At least I don't. I do not mind the group as it is, but I fully agree with the concerns. I also find it difficult to locate some message if I want to, which will not happen if we have a small, that other group is going to be only for reference, for our practical purposes. Only a few of us who have issues with the present group. And I'm going to I want to announce all our official messages in both the groups anyway. So you're not going to miss it. It's just a question of one more click.
Yeah.
So,
and the other like forward group can be optional. So obviously that are concerns. Obviously,
it's a question of where you want to log in and see.
The forward wala can be optional. You don't have to be part of it. Great, works for me.
That's it. So that way, there is no compulsion. Anybody who wants to go to the regular group can go there and look at all the forwards. Anybody who doesn't want to will also have an option to look at only the official messages.
Okay, anybody else with other views on this? Anything out of the box?
No, I think the solution of 2 WhatsApp groups is a really good one. Yeah, that way, depending on what level of messages you want to deal with, you can pick one or the other.
That's very wise, Purva.
Okay, so let's ponder on this. Let's chew cud on this. We have time. Continue, Suresh, with announcements.
Okay. Now,
So take the decision now and form the 2 WhatsApp groups. That's much better.
Okay, fine. So
There's no pondering at all.
Okay,
Deepika, what Sundari said is absolutely a fact. And it is anybody who's on too many WhatsApp groups, you see the same forwards over and over again. And we see it on our group. There are many forwards which are repeated ad nauseum. So the point is having the 2 groups will help out. And it's what Deepa told us ages ago, that if you don't want to see a message, just delete. Simple as that.
Yes.
So having the 2.
Yeah, I am with you on this. I just want to know whether we need to have a bigger forum to decide. But since we decide that this is the forum that will decide.
Yeah.
Suresh, you can go ahead and announce to the group and take steps.
Yep.
Done. Yes.
It might be minority rule, but it works.
Okay. Now
the rest of the announcements. The power of lobbying has been demonstrated in this election.
Yay to Devika.
Both Devika and Purva have been successful.
It's not that anybody in this group is equally successful, because all you have to do is say, hey, listen, I'm asking you to read
That's
the
it.
book, and we read.
So let us see if this motivate more members to actively lobby in future. Should make life definitely more interesting.
Okay.
Then the book for June is
Wow.
Shafak, The Island of Missing Trees.
Yeah, that was my choice. So
Purva, you have to
very
go back.
happy.
Yeah, was the island of missing trees not showing?
Yeah.
It's showed.
Yes, it's showing beautifully.
Yeah.
Purva, it's showing very well. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And then
And the book for July, you'll have to present that also, Purva.
yeah,
It's a meeting on the Andheri Overbridge by Ambai.
Okay.
This is a translation, highly regarded.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. Okay. Then
Latika, we can't hear
Latika, you're
you.
on silent.
Yeah.
It's only $52 on Kindle right now.
A meeting
Which
on
one?
Andheri
Andheri?
Overbridge?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay.
Let's do one thing. Latika, supposing we all buy it today, let's see if, like the stock market, the price goes up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's 52. I bought it yesterday. That's what I'm saying.
Good show. Okay, continue,
Now.
Suresh.
okay. By the way, Odyssey wanted me to inform you that the Island of Missing Trees was sold out, but they have reordered and are expecting stocks in a day or two, not more than that.
The quarantine, no?
The July book has also been ordered, but may take some more time. It's not an easily available book in print form. Then we would like to make the main thing. We would like to make our June meeting a physical meeting. Sharon has already cleared the idea and has mentioned that it can be a hybrid meeting out of Chennai members.
Oh, everybody, now
Wait,
everyone
what is the date of the next meeting?
Fourth Thursday, whatever it is.
Both
Yeah, let me just,
Yeah, can you
the
just?
date of that would be the 23rd. 23rd of June.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. Good. Yeah,
So
I'll be there. Yeah.
we'll keep you posted as details are worked out. We have to work out a lot of details of this hybrid meeting and all that. We have never done a meeting like that before. Let us see. We have the time to do it. Now, shall I go with my review?
Go ahead.
Please.
Please, please.
Yeah, the big bats have been kept in.
No, fortunately, Chandra has taken away half of them.
Oh, there's no compulsion notice.
Oh,
It's only in October, so don't worry.
Hello,
I like the
Meera.
book.
Or somebody who is talking.
Soon we should do the book.
Malvika, maybe?
Okay.
Okay.
Can we mute?
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah.
yeah, everybody other than Suresh.
I like the book. It was such an effortless and fast read. But it left me with many conflicting emotions. Throughout, I was wondering at Jane Austen's writing style and craft. Take her characters. They are meticulously etched in detail. She makes you understand everything about them. She talks much more about their thought processes than their actual actions or statements. This makes us understand their motivations better and empathize with them. Then the scenes. They are explained in such great detail that they actually come up in front of your eyes. Then the background to the story. The British nobility, their snobbery, their lifestyle, etc., etc. Sometimes you wonder, did people really live like that? She explains it all in great detail. Wonderful. All these are stitched together beautifully. Story moves smoothly from scene to scene seamlessly. Then the language. Sometimes rather quaint. Sometimes you even lose the thread. What happened to Chandra? What happened to me? Quite often while reading the book. Makes you suddenly stop and ask yourself, what was that again? This happened quite a few times. I had to go back and read the sentence, whatever, and then understand what it's all about. Then there are the relationships between the characters. The large variety of these relationships is brought out very well. Now, all these are details of her craft of novel writing. This novel can practically be a textbook on the subject. Everybody should read Jane Austen for her craft. Unfortunately, I want to stop there. Reading Jane Austen for anything else, I'm not too sure. But ultimately, the content, the story, there was hardly anything to bite into according to me. He loves me not. He loves me not, etc., etc. Maybe I feel like this because I'm rather allergic to the romance genre. It's possible I'm totally wrong. I'd like to be enlightened today. At so many places, I was so irritated with the way Anne was behaving. They wanted to give her a good slap and tell her, wake up. I can fully understand the position Jane Austen holds as a practically single-handedly created the modern English novel, which she's supposed to have done. But in the case of this book, Persuasion, I was left totally high and dry when I looked for a story. I must also mention the sudden, abrupt way the story ended. I felt differently about the ending compared to Chandra. It was over in just one meeting and a few minutes. The author seems to have dragged the story for 200 plus pages with her craft and nothing else. That is the impression I get by reading this book. There was the story. Second, I mean, what was she talking about? Except the craft. Enjoy the craft. You will lovely craft. You will really enjoy reading the book. You will really, I mean, nobody can complain about a Jane Austen book if they are made to read it. I won't. But on my own, I will never look up another book of Jane Austen on my own. But if I'm forced to read, I am ready to read it. I'll enjoy it also maybe, but not on my own. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Suresh.
Thank you.
Suresh, I must say, you've been, Jane Austen is turning in her grave right now. Okay. Who's going next?
No. But Suresh, read Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah,
That's a
definitely.
beautiful
Yeah, you shouldn't judge Austen until you've read Pride and Prejudice.
Yes, that's
Totally agree.
That's true.
Definitely true.
Okay.
Yeah, who'd like to go next?
I'll go.
Yeah, please,
Yes.
Devika.
Please.
Okay, so I basically like Suresh and Chandra didn't really. I mean, maybe I went in with very high expectations. It's the first Jane Austen I'm reading, and I've sort of heard so much about it. And how can she be on the currency note of the British Empire? This sort of novel? Okay.
Her other 3 books.
Yeah. No, whatever. I mean, for her body of work. Okay, so I have come away feeling, oh, really? Anyway, but I have an aunt, my mother's sister, who is a open devotee of Jane Austen. She also happens to be an English professor. So I've been in communication with her, and I have 4 long foolscap sheets of what she has given us as a devotee of Jane Austen. I will share parts of that with you. I happened to share that with Prema because she said she's not coming to the meeting. So I'm going to start by reading out what Prema summarizes, because frankly speaking, mine is, what is this all about? What is so great about this? I thought a Georgette hair would be better and sounded very mundane, but that's what I thought. But anyway, so what Prema says is, I've read your aunt's posts and they are startlingly similar to my views. I felt I was living in a small village and I could sense the atmosphere, smell the rank snobbery, and feel Anne's emotions, which she suppressed, emotions including sexual desire, which she hid so well under that placid exterior. A typical group of people, some criticize her for living in an ivory tower and not bringing the wars in, but she stuck to the zone she knew so well and didn't bring in extraneous elements. Some of the characters she was silently mocking. I'm not able to find the book now. I read it earlier in the month. But I also agree with you that the younger lot might find it dated. And because they've already read Georgette Heyer, they may not get the joy that we expect from it. So that is as far as Prema is concerned. Okay.
Prema called me a younger lot.
Huh?
Wow.
I'm not in the younger lot. She's talking about millennials. Okay.
Yeah.
The Purvas of this world who love the book. Okay. Now,
go that far.
I have one thing to say from what I gather about Jane Austen. You live in the middle of a war because the Napoleonic War was going on at that time.
Yes.
You don't take cognizance of the war at all.
They don't know. She didn't know. She didn't know it.
No, I do want to speak. No, I do want to
She
speak out in defense of her. The last line talks about the wars.
I know, but I mean, you're living in a period. You're actually physically living in a period where there is a war, and the whole thing is all about the naval officer came, and where he'd have made his money. He'd have made his money looting some other country like our India. Okay.
Yeah.
West Indies.
I don't know how the Navy made money in those days.
Connection with me at all.
Prize money usually, if Napoleonic was, he made it capturing French ships at least, not pillaging India. So
Not India.
No, but I immediately translated it into India, and I felt so hurt for India because somebody somewhere would have looted India like this. Okay. Anyway, then I mentioned to my aunt that I found the book very slow. So she calls it magnificently slow.
Wow.
I don't know how she does that. Okay, so her point is this. She says it is an ironic presentation of human frailties, of vanity, of hypochondria, of materialistic greed, of narcissism, of class snobbery, of tension within families. Okay. Now, she says that it is this book is a combination of external realities and the inner world of emotion. And she says, the reaction of modern readers to this ordinary world should be very good because they're seeing a new world, a world in which they don't have WhatsApp and stuff like that, like me. Okay. Now she says, either you will love this book or think it is superficial reading. And I happen to fall into the unabashed devotee category. Okay. Now she comes back to this one second. There's so much of her stuff. Okay. So she says,
Wow.
She is able to, she says that Persuasion, by the way, it was published after her death, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
published
By her
after
brother,
her
I
death.
It has a seriousness that distinguishes it from the other novels that came before it.
Yeah.
Central character Anne Elliot is older than her usual heroines. And the other, she was talking about why it's called Persuasion. Now, the fact is that as a 19-year-old, I thought, supposing she'd just gone away with that man, problem would have been solved. We wouldn't have a book. But you know what she says? She says in those days, the thought wouldn't even have entered Anne Elliot. Because then supposing something goes wrong, you'll only end up as a governess. And a lady of her, whatever, that aristocracy could never even think of living as a governess.
Yeah.
So another point that there's so much of this stuff. Then the delicacy, the unselfishness, the intelligence of Anne, who is completely overlooked by the family. Then her constancy in love for the captain, who returns with money after the Napoleonic War, which is why I hated him. Okay, she's a finely drawn character. And she's this thing living like Elizabeth of Pride and Prejudice, or as confident as Ma, but extremely appealing. Good sense, good taste, an educated mind, a quiet efficiency. All this makes her my favorite. Look out for these qualities. She wants me to look out for these qualities that I'm reading. Anyway, there's lots and lots of stuff like this. All I can say is I saw what she said, and I said I really am not able to see what you said or what's in the book, but I read it because it was given by you. Okay, anyone else?
If nobody else wants to, I'm going to try and defend Persuasion a little bit.
Then after that, Purva, me, I have not much to say. You go ahead. I want waiting to hear you, Purva.
So I would not call Persuasion my favorite Austen, that is Pride and Prejudice. But I loved a lot about it. The language was gorgeous. And what I really liked about it was, so the thing with Austen, the thing with a lot of classic authors is that unless you have like a really good annotated edition, you miss a lot of the context clues, yeah? And I don't know that the wars were completely off Jane Austen's mind. I mean, her brother was in the navies, but at the same time, I mean, like you said, they didn't have WhatsApp in those days, and even the newspaper, I think it had only very recently been published, it had only recently really become a thing. So it wasn't that they weren't concerned about the war, they just didn't live in this, age of bombardment of news that we all do. And okay, I do have a bit of a quibble with the idea that novels set during a war should be all about the wars. Other things happen, like even World War II, right? I mean, the home front happened. And I feel like there's an automatic move to dismiss, parts of the story that are not masculine, because we never value things that we rarely value things that aren't masculine like the way they deserve to be. So I'm perfectly fine with not reading all about the Napoleonic Wars in the Jane Austen novel. If I wanted to read about the Napoleonic Wars, I have the Aubrey Maturin series. But that said, she does include some lovely social satire in, it's very it's subtle, but it's there. So you have I love how she contrasts, Anne's father's name, Walter. Yeah, I love how she contrasts him and Wentworth, and it's indicative of a larger difference in Britain, because this was during the 1800s, right? So Britain was okay. Yeah, so Britain was changing. The earlier it was the landed gentry. It was your birth defined who you were. But now with the Industrial Revolution, that was the other thing. The Navy is a big deal that Wentworth was a naval officer, because the Navy was one of the few ways a man from humble origins could make a life for himself. Was that money from killing people? Yes, but I mean, it's not like the Duke of whoever earned his money selling unicorn farts and rainbows. I mean, come on, they all held slaves. Yeah. Anyway, so I love so I think that she did very well to illustrate that conflict between the old Britain and the new Britain. And yeah, I mean, it's not Anne and what's her first name? Frederick? Yeah, but the point is, Anne Elliot and Captain Wentworth. Yeah, they're not Elizabeth and Darcy, but I think there's something to be said for a love story that maybe acknowledges that sometimes you're not mature enough, or you're not. It's just because it's love doesn't mean you have to abandon all sense and reason. I think with Jane Austen is that what I love about her is that, yes, she is still quite conservative, but she can be very subtly subversive. Like with Charlotte in Pride and Prejudice, here there's a subtle subversiveness, pushing Anne to go for Wentworth versus, Sir William, I think it was. But yeah,
Yes.
like I said, it's not my favorite of Jane Austen's books, but I enjoy reading it, and I'm glad to have read it. Yeah, Suryanti, you wanted to go next.
Yeah, very brief, because most of you have covered what I wanted to say. I enjoyed the book. I thought it was a nice read. And I would say it's a better version of Georgette Hare. The language is really amazing. And there were so many sentences that I had to read again, not having read a classic for some time. And the humor is, I don't know if you noticed this, I'm just going to read one about Sir Eliot. When Admiral Croft and his wife move into the house, he says, I've done very little besides sending away some of the large looking glasses from my dressing room, which was your father's. A very good man and very much the gentleman, I'm sure. But I should think, Miss Elliot, looking with serious reflection, I should think he must be rather a dressy man for his time of life. Such a number of looking glasses, oh Lord, there was no getting away from oneself. So I thought that was beautifully said about Sir Eliot's obsession with himself. I thought it was a nice read, Devika. I enjoyed the book. Thank you.
Okay, can I say something?
Please.
Yeah. Yes, let's.
Devika, I disagree with you that the millennials think Georgette Hare is great. They don't. They think she's dated. Also, I mean, we're the ones who enjoy Georgette Hare, but I've tried to make my daughter read it and she's a laugh. So that's it for that part. I would this book finishing it because, you know, I went to sleep 3 times reading the book. May not be because of the book per se, but I like Suresh, I found the story a bit, I mean, you know, you wanted to give Anne a biff on the head. That's because she was persuaded to drop Captain Wentworth because he had absolutely no money. Money was the overriding factor. And later on, he comes back with money. She finds that her feelings are the same. She was the most sensible of the 3 sisters, and she's definitely the sister that the heroine that anybody would, I guess, like. Her father and older sister typify what you don't like, and the youngest is an ass anyway. So she's brought out her characters very well. And look, that lot of characters can be transposed into any century, any time. We see them all around us. So it's not something new. It's just that this whole concept of persuading somebody not to get married to a person for various reasons, or trying to push them in the way of another person who looks as if he's got all that is there. That was William Eliot. But, and then finding out that life was not exactly as it was. Other than saying that times it just dragged, it was easy reading all through. And then I went back and I actually read up more about Jane Austen and this book. It's the last of her books, and they say it's probably the most mature of her books, because she's the mature Jane Austen, and this is probably the mature version of Pride and Prejudice. So that's that's one of the things that has been written. And I thought, the romance factor of it, the story is a romance of that day. It was just okay. There's no, you don't go overboard with it. Today's writers who write about that period, frankly, dwell too much on the bedroom scenes, etc., because that's what sells. Whereas in her day, it didn't. And perhaps it's a much, her language, etc., is infinitely better than anything we have now. So that was it. So thanks. I don't know who suggested we should read this book, but whoever did, thank you, because otherwise I wouldn't have read it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, thank you, Latika. Anyone else wants to say something?
Yeah, okay, I will.
Yeah.
I think we also have to understand how Jane Austen wrote. It wasn't as if she had television and daily newspapers to know what was going on in the world. She sat at she didn't have a room of her own, and she was only able to write at the table in a living room, where if somebody came and imposed on her, she had to cover up with whatever embroidery work she was supposed to be doing. So she wrote rather surreptitiously, only out of necessity. And I think the milieu of that time was, of course, so important that everybody got married and married well. And the fact that Jane's novels do tend to have always 3 sisters and an impoverished father who squandered money from his estate, and they have to resort to means of finding a livelihood. Here, of course, Anne was able to have an opportunity of early love, but that was dismissed by her minder, I suppose, Miss Russell, Lady Russell, and at least she was given a second chance. But I think Jane teased us all the way through the novel it was, irritating in that we knew, I almost was going to skip to the end because I felt, she had to end up with Captain Wentworth. It was so obvious. There was no other suitable candidate. But, the language allows you to indulge in just the sheer joy of reading. And, but it is frustrating at times that she does tease you. That's what I felt. I was being teased the whole time, but, maybe, maybe not. Will she, won't she? It's like pulling petals of a daisy. He loves me not. But it was, it wasn't Pride and Prejudice, but I suppose it's as close, Captain Wentworth came as close to Darcy as any of her novels. And for me, I read it without much effort and enjoyed it enormously. So, and of course, the fact that they do live hopefully happy ever after. We're not sure what happens later on, but we have to expect. And I think that's the romance of the time, that we all hope for that happy ending. And at least Anne got a second chance at love. And that was finally teased out by the writing. So I just admire the fact that in that period of time, the way that she was able to write and write about what was essential, I suppose, to them as a family, and not really what was happening in the world. But of course, the soldiers and the Navy and the Army were always quintessentially a part of their lives. And the uniforms were obviously always attractive. And Wentworth, had that inner appeal. You felt, that he exuded a certain charm. And I found him rather a romantic character, if not irritating at times, that he was playing Anne against these other two cousins. But all in all, it was Jane Austen, probably at her best. Not absolutely her best, but certainly an entertaining one. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Good. Actually, I'm very glad at least someone really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying I didn't, but still, a lot of misgivings. Very good, actually. Good.
Yeah. Have you ever had a book that was, that everybody agreed with?
I think we did have that. Our last book, Purva, we read that the other book, about the American Indians. Everyone liked it.
Okay, I don't think I was there for that. Okay.
Night Watchman. Yeah.
Everyone liked it.
Watchman.
Yeah, Night Watchman.
Night
Yeah, Night
Watchman.
Watchman. Everyone liked it. Yeah.
Basically, Jane Austen, it's a genre and it belongs to a particular era.
So education,
yeah.
I think everyone liked that also.
Yeah, so this has got a time, it's a period novel. So
yeah, it's a period novel. Yeah.
So these, within these things, so among the books, this is the best novel. That's what people say. And Jane Austen, she lived in a kind of society. She was a spinster, and then she lived with her family. And she's supposed to have like a small piece of ivory. You go on and doing intricate work. That's the description given for her works. So of course you can't compare her with a modern day best-selling author or things like that. She's something like you have Walter Scott, you have Dickens, so you have Jane Austen. So of course this book I've read all of Jane Austen sometime in my early school days, but it can be enjoyed for what it is. Maybe the children nowadays, youngsters may not be able to read it because the language is archaic. So unless you're really into English literature, the sentences are long, so they may not find it attractive. But we have grown up reading Dickens and Scott and things like that. So we have read books like this, to read it.
That way, I do wish that that way I'm glad to have read Persuasion as an adult, and this is probably going to be as possibly as unpopular opinion as Mr. Suresh's, but I honestly don't think that classics like this should be taught at the high school level, because honestly, I love Pride and Prejudice. I got so much more out of it, reading it at 25, 26 when I was actually an adult. Or even Persuasion, I'm not sure, or any of the classic novels I read in high school, I'm not sure how much you really get out of it as a teenager, if the language aside.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Peggy.
think that's very correct, Purva.
Yeah, I don't think they do also, Purva. I couldn't, honestly, for me, best part of the book was that it was free on Kindle Unlimited. I couldn't get through it. I didn't want to know what was happening, regardless of the language, right? I feel language can only take you so far. I think this had a very weak plot. Yeah, I just couldn't, again, not for me. Or I mean, I've read classics, Pride and Prejudice, yes, but I didn't want to know what would happen. Sort of thing. Language, I feel, has its limitations. There can be beautiful prose, but that's how far I get. I couldn't even finish the book. So and I don't think it's high school. English has changed a lot. They don't. They've really adapted a lot. So they don't go with the classics. I think at that point they didn't have any genre at all. That was young adult. Now it's changed a lot. So they have a lot. They have a lot of different books which are more contemporary, which makes sense, right? And so I think that's changed a lot now.
Okay. No, when I was in high school, we did Dickens, we did Austen, we did Shakespeare, and this one Indian author. If you haven't heard of, if you've heard of Gopinath Mohanty, I strongly recommend Paraja. If you've it's a lovely book, but not an easy read. But yeah, when I was in high school, it was still very much, the dead white men and women reigned supreme.
Anyhow, yeah, I think if anybody.
Yeah, we've got about 15 minutes. Anyone else?
Yeah, anyone, or I will just go.
I think all of us have spoken.
Yeah.
All the people who wanted to say something.
You're free to go to your hopefully Modi-less school.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, Chandra.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Why don't we talk about books in general? The few minutes we have.
Yeah, or maybe like you mentioned, something that you might have enjoyed, because it's, with so many books around, it's honestly getting very difficult to choose because there's so many books. Everything is available. So if there's something that you like, you read recently and you really liked, I would love to hear recommendations, even though it may not make it to the book club list or may not be for everybody, right? Especially genre book, science fiction perhaps, or something of that sort.
I'm reading a series by DJ Holmes, science fiction series. It's a series of 14 books. God knows when it will end. Extremely specialized genre. Unless you are into it fully, you are not going to like it.
Okay, what's it called?
The Empire.
The Empire, okay. DJ Holmes.
Science fiction, I take it?
Science fiction. It's in Kindle Unlimited. I really use the Unlimited properly. Fully utilize it. Get your money's worth. Otherwise, even Kindle becomes expensive after a while.
Any other book your folks have been reading that
Anand,
they
you want to
like?
say something?
Yeah, I read
Anand, go ahead. Yeah.
wonderful book called Lady Doctors. That was really good.
Yes,
I had put it up. Yeah, that is really a remarkable book. It's amazing how these ladies, fought the odds and became a doctor. That was a really, I enjoyed that book. So I remember that.
You should mention this in our group also. It will be on record and people can look it up.
Yeah.
No, I had proposed
nominated it also. Yeah, I remember.
I had
nominated it also.
Yeah. So the Empire, but no, I'm noting down the books mentioned. What was the series you mentioned, Mr. Suresh?
DJ
Empire.
Holmes.
Yeah, Empire by DJ Holmes. Okay.
Empire something.
Sure, I'll find the link.
Yeah.
Kindle Unlimited, right?
It's on Kindle Unlimited, and 14 volumes have come out now.
Okay, Padma showing something.
Yeah,
Padma, what
Padma,
is
you're
that?
on. You're muted. You're muted.
I sort of Vivekananda, The Monk and the Man. This is a book which I got and was trying.
Who is it by?
It's by somebody called Shankar, The Monk and the Man. So this was
Monk
a
and
book
Man,
I read, in recent times.
Very nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, I've been reading this book called This Is How You Lose the Time War. Well, it's more a novella. And it's basically about two spies who they travel through time, each of them trying to change the time stream to influence events a certain way. One's from like this culture, very tech heavy, very sciencey culture. The other is from this world where it's all plants and botanicals and all of that. And basically they leave each other notes and that's how they fall in love. If you found the text in Persuasion dense, this is not a book where you just dash off in half an hour. I mean, but the language is so beautiful. It's like one of those. It's like a Fabergé egg of a book. Like each sentence is so lovingly crafted and just beautifully written. I absolutely recommend it.
Just put in the link.
Yeah, I will. I'm noting all of them.
This is already on my waiting list in my Kindle.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I
I
read
don't
about
read
it in
the
reviews.
Yeah.
Excellent reviews.
Yeah, sadly, I don't believe a paper copy is available, but it is there on Kindle.
Such books. I think it's on Kindle Unlimited, if I remember right. Anyway, no problem. I have it on the waiting list.
Devika, I don't know whether you remember, we did Coleman Bach, Jalaluddin Rumi, the translation.
Yes.
Met Mr. Raza today.
You met him today. Okay.
Yeah, and I reminded him he had come to the book club.
He brought along the original. He has priceless books. He brought along.
It was amazing, Padma.
Meeting
that was a wonderful meeting we had.
Wonderful meeting, and we all got so excited, and then we all took photographs around him. It's like a fan club.
He's pretty old now, and he's unable to walk, so I just looked him up. Then I reminded him how you had come to we all bought the Coleman Bach's translation on Amazon, and we all took 2 months to read it. Yes. Do it in 1 month. I think it was in 2015 or something.
Yes. I remember it's in the little veranda outside in Apparao.
Challenge going on. So we had to do it in that.
Yes.
It's really, we all enjoyed it.
So I'm telling you, that was one great meeting. And then when we got Mr. Timeri Murari to come and about his body of work, and we all had actually read up all his books and we were able to talk. And then he left behind Maureen as a book club member.
Yeah. She's not here now.
Yeah, I think she had to leave.
I was very proud that I had read about 4 of his books. And then I happened to meet Prema and she told me I've read 7. Can you imagine? That is the kind of members we have in this club.
Okay, so
if you want a more serious book, please read Women and Power. It's by Professor Mary Beard. It's easy reading.
Women and Power.
It's about basically women in the West, how they've been silenced over the centuries.
Women in the West, it's hard to believe.
Yeah, but it is. It's very much there. I mean, it's interesting because it's an eye-opener. I mean, I still would say that maybe not as a book club book, but please read Kamala Harris because you can see history in the making.
Yeah, the part
We have to read
something.
Kamala Harris.
No, the Truth We Hold. That was
Yeah, the Truth We Hold, because it tells you what she tried to do as the when she was the Attorney General of California, and what she hoped to do. And if you really look at the year that's passed, I mean, she's not really been able to do any of those things. So that makes it even more interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really, really want very, very serious reading, then there's Cast by, I think, Wilfredson.
Wilkerson. Isabel Wilkerson? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a lovely book too, yes.
That's heavy, but I mean, it's just gives you another insight into the whole thing. Or we could also read Manu Pillai's books.
Yes.
In history, because that's history which we don't learn about in school at all.
Yeah.
And a nicer form. I mean, easier to read. It's not very dry.
Yeah, even Ramachandra Guha, I was reading A Corner of a Foreign Field, and it's really, I had not thought about how deeply cricket and the Raj were tied together, but I should have realized that.
I'm reading Manu Pillai's The Ivory Throne. For such a young man, his English is very good. I think he studied in England or something. And very well researched. The Ivory Throne.
Yeah, I have his False Allies in my on my list.
That's another good book. And the Rebel Sultans, the one of the Deccan. Because that's history which we don't really read about. I mean, if you really look at it, how long was the history of the Vijayanagara kingdom? Half a para or half a page? And we hardly read about the Hoysalas or the others. So that makes sense.
Want a very good book on the Vijayanagara Empire? There is a book called The Forgotten Empire by Nunes and Pius.
Okay.
So that's really worth reading. It was a bestseller many years back. They give you a very good bird's eye view.
Okay.
Yeah. Has anyone read Rajmohan Gandhi's Modern South India?
Oh no. Wow.
No, I picked up a copy at the last in-person Lit Fest, and it has just been sitting sad and abandoned on my bookshelf ever since.
Purva, is it time for you?
I have another 5.
o'clock?
Yeah, I have another 5 minutes.
Okay.
But we can wrap up early if you all want.
No, it's fine. It's nice to talk to all of you. I see Anand here, right? It's pretty early for you in the morning.
Not really. It's 9:30. It's not that bad.
Oh, not bad.
Okay.
That's why I'm here.
Anand,
You're into Sydney.
Where's the Baba?
The Baba is fast asleep.
Fast asleep, okay.
That's nice. Sorry, I couldn't contribute because I didn't read the book, unfortunately. So.
That's okay. They also serve who listen to us ranting.
But I must ask you, would you read the book at the end of this discussion?
Not really. I'll just go and reread Pride and Prejudice, and I'll see it on TV again. Because it sounds very similar.
Yeah, visual media takes over.
That's true.
Actually, Anand, this one is also a movie. Persuasion.
Persuasion. I got it, but I couldn't see the movie. I don't know, for some reason. I got most of the Austens as movies, but I could only see Pride and Prejudice.
Actually, Pride and Prejudice also has a famous first line, right? Anybody in
No, it is a truth universally acknowledged that a man in possession of good fortune must be in want of a wife.
Right?
Yeah, everything's about getting married. No? And I'm the only character I really, who I know personally, I won't mention names, but contemporaries are Mrs. Bennet. I meet at least one Mrs. Bennet in every year of my life.
It's a universal type.
It's a universal type. And, it was coined literally by Austen because She must be a society watcher, like man watching, like.
But you know, I honestly reading the book again as an adult, I feel a lot of pity for her more than anything else, because at the end of the day, look, at least now, you know, women have the means to work outside. Back then, the only way you had any chance of security was marriage. And look at her husband, an absolute layabout of a man, not concerned with his daughter's futures at all. 2,000 pounds was a decent sum at that time. He could have laid in money, and he could have given him better dowry. So honestly, looking back with the wisdom of age, quote unquote, I feel sorry for Mrs. Bennet and absolutely furious with Mr. Bennet.
But Mr. Bennet is a charming character, I thought.
He's a
I thought he was
jackass.
henpecked, the original henpecked husband.
She's a sweet mama.
And he didn't have a clue of the younger daughters, right? They had two ne'er-do-wells.
No, he was a bad father, simply put.
No, just bad father. Right?
He was, humorous, and he thought
It was humorous. I think he was a nice character. I liked him.
compared to Mrs. Bennet.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Elizabeth sort of stepped up for her father. I think the father's failing, and how she's the advisor, right? And the mother's thing, and she's sort of replicated it. I mean, Jane Austen replicated Persuasion, the posthumous book, which was on the similar about the silly young daughters. And this girl had a thing about youth. So, like you said, Purva, I don't think any of Austen's books should be read by a teenager, male or female, essentially a female.
No, I mean, Pride and Prejudice would be a good thing for young men to read. Mostly because Darcy knows how to respond to a no.
Darcy is that tall, dark, handsome.
Yeah.
He's the guy. He's the second guy.
Yeah, and most importantly, when he is rejected, he goes away.
There's a bit of Darcy in many contemporary movies too.
Padma, I'm sorry, your sound keeps cutting in and out.
Have you read A Suitable Boy, the Vikram said?
I took one look at the size of it and ran away.
Too big, just too big.
But wonderful English.
He's good. He's the guy who wrote a book in poetry, didn't he? He wrote a whole book.
Yes.
Vikram's
Golden Gate.
said.
Did he write Gun Island?
No, I don't
No, I think that is Amitabh Ghosh.
Amitabh Ghosh, yes. Yes, Amitabh Ghosh.
Upamanyu Chatterjee also writes very well.
Yeah, I think his new book is out, Padma. His new book is out. Which I hear is pretty good. Yeah, I heard of his new book. He wrote English August, if people have heard of that.
Yeah.
It was made a long time ago in Doordarshan Times, I think, if you remember. It was a wonderful series.
Actually, Leela Seth's book, Vikram Seth's Mother, that's a wonderful book. I think it's a fine balance. It's all about her life. I enjoyed that book.
Okay. Wasn't
it's a balanced mind.
Rohinton?
No, sorry. This is a balanced mind. I always confuse
balanced mind.
Okay.
Something like that. It's similar to Rohinton. I think we did that book.
Rohinton.
Rohinton.
Yeah, rather depressing. Anyway, thanks, Purva. All the best. I hope to see all of you in June.
Yes, fingers
Thanks,
crossed. We see each other physically.
Yeah. Thanks, Suresh, for the optics.
Nice meeting you. Yes, thanks, Purva.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Purva. Bye, everybody.
See you.
I should be back for the next.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye.